Go ahead. Sorry.
Sometimes I have a very toxic way of building confidence in moments when those negative stories pop up in my head. Mm-hmm. So like when she was talking about being nervous about the party, I'm like, but you're better than them. I'm
I feel like what works.
I mean, you are
me?
better than them.
Why would that be a problem?
I mean, like, if we're actually talking that.
Here's the answer.
The answer
you're better than them.
You're putting up more numbers, and you're a better player than them.
Period.
You're Steph, they're Clay.
I mean, if you want to play by that game, yes, I can. If you want to play there, we can play there.
And then I'll try to
because I win every time.
And then I'll try to dilute it into a more healthier story.
The ego comes in strong
I'm like,
first.
okay,
we're
working from here.
Let's take a step back.
Let's trim it back.
Let's scale it down a bit.
Ego. I feel like that's an appropriate use of your ego.
Honestly,
it's
a
but
form.
You're better than that.
I like to say I like to trick my mind into combating the white supremacy, because that's the thing. Beautiful day that we are having. Mm-hmm. We are on episode 3 of the N-Word podcast, and we have an amazing guest with us, Corryn Grace Freeman.
Hey, pew, 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 pew.
Y'all silly. Hi y'all. How y'all doing?
What up?
Corryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Likewise, I'm very happy you accepted and pulled up on us.
So why would I not?
Yeah.
It's an honor, literally.
Word. I love that.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here. I think we were talking earlier about, the show, and part of the reason that I'm really excited for this conversation, and I was like, Kevin, think we should do this now, is because we have spent a lot of time talking about disrupting white supremacy in the context of what feels like pretty political, definitely elections, right? But political, and like that is a big part of it, right? Our experiences, our identities are political, and also the work to disrupt white supremacy happens every day in everyday life, in all the aspects of our life, all the aspects of our roles. And I think about really wanting to talk to you in the context of, our relationship. We did get to know each other. We did meet in the political realm doing, movement organizing work. But our relationship has evolved to friendship, mom friends, community, being down here in South Florida. And I just always appreciate and in awe of like the conversations that we have, the work that you do on your day to day, just to take care of your family, take care of kids as a trying to be free Black woman.
Heavy on the try.
Heavy
on the trying, striving, getting to freedom, constantly becoming. And I feel the same for you. I feel like our friendship is such a breath of fresh air. I feel like I see you and I feel seen. And it's such a safe space for mutual understanding of just like being in this world as Black women, as Black queer women, as mothers, trying to raise whole, healthy, heart-centered, emotionally well children.
That last one, child.
Emotionally well, especially in like the chaos of like what is happening politically. Like we're going backwards from where I was in elementary school.
Word.
Like for me, like this is a space where like nothing is off limits, from talking about the family to work and everything in between. So like I'm really grateful, and I love the space that you guys have created and for embracing me.
I appreciate you naming that. I feel like Angela and I know and have a clear understanding of what we're doing with each other, what we're building with our family, and what we're building with the work that we do. And to hear someone articulate a variation that is pretty spot on to what I know we want, It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
it's one of those moments where I know I feel seen, and it feels really great.
And we try to do it in Florida, y'all.
Cause it's hard, man.
part.
That's what I was about to say. Like,
The devil's nutsack. Like, we are, what America, what y'all got coming, we know, okay?
We know.
y'all looking like, oh, is this Florida? Like, yes, child, it
Yeah.
is Florida.
America Florida, yes.
we got the prototype.
Yes.
Oh man. And it's interesting now too to see the Florida legislature try to like go even deeper. They're like,
Yeah.
it's really messed up. It's really fucked up. But we're gonna try to figure out how to make it even more racist,
Like,
even
what?
more aggressively anti-working class.
called
like
a special
what
session
Are the
to do
what
that.
are the ways? Like they're having brainstorm sessions about
Literally.
how deeper they can go in the like
It's like
anti-woman, anti-black, anti-immigrant, anti-working people like playbook. It's really fascinating.
the dish is already spicy. We don't
Do not add
we
nothing.
don't need
Add
any
no
more spice.
We're good.
Please.
Do you not see the tears?
Word.
Like,
Word. Speaking of tears, let's talk about white tears.
yes. Great transition.
Great.
Absolutely. You know, this is a show about dismantling white supremacy. We are often talking about white supremacy, trying to figure out ways to make it a tangible understanding for people. People don't see how it pops up in our everyday lives. I think, like you all were alluding to earlier, it kind of like, I feel like people think it just shows up in like a political realm or like campaigns and shit, or like, oh, you all are trying to like save the trees and all that stuff.
Or whether or not white kids can say the N-word in rap songs.
Child.
That part.
Out my face.
So definitely want to get, I think when we have folks on the show, one of the things that we want to do is to have people give us their white supremacy hot take. A white supremacy hot take is completely of your own. I think an example of a white supremacy hot take that I have is I feel like Black joy is white supremacy's kryptonite.
Period.
And at every point that white people see Black joy, they either feel like it just disrupts their entire system, their entire configuration, and they're almost in a fight or flight mode.
Yes.
And like, you know,
They start melting.
we can literally start melting. We can look at all the memes throughout, you know, this technology history. We can look at, you know, moments where, you know, the unfortunate loss of Black life, Black or brown life, because of Black joy essentially being white supremacy's kryptonite. I think about like Tamir Rice, I think, who was killed by Cleveland
playground.
Cleveland police because he was playing with a toy gun and
On the playground. A toy.
and they literally ran up on him and killed him. I'm thinking about like John Crawford, also in Ohio. He was at like a Walmart holding a gun on the phone with his girlfriend. They killed him. We could literally go on and on. So that's my white supremacy hot take. Would love to hear what your white supremacy hot take. Angela, did you have something you want to say?
I just feel like the Super Bowl and people reacting to the Super Bowl,
Yes.
white people freaking out, is another example of Black joy being white supremacy kryptonite. Like,
Yes.
the
for
way
sure.
all of the responses, like, we didn't get it, it wasn't entertaining.
What is
like,
he saying?
Like, what is he like? But you see, like, Black folks living for it,
Right.
loving it. Like, if you know, you know, and like, they also hate that we enjoy something that
That they can't have
having
it
something
on.
that they can't have.
Right.
They hate it.
They
Right.
have to have access to all parts of everything.
Right.
And must be at the center.
Oh, it must be at the center.
Must be at the center.
Must be at the center. And for me, with Black joy, I think it's when Black joy and they are not at the center of
Yes.
it, because they love watching Black people have fun, because then they emulate it. Like white supremacy loves to emulate Black culture, and then like a lot of Black people be celebrating white people for emulating Black culture, and then white
Talk
people
about it.
Right.
they now feel like they have an entryway into it. Oh, it's
This is for all of us. It's
this
like,
is for all. Yeah. Yeah. Someone said, oh, this isn't AAVE, it's TikTok language or it's gay slang. And it's just like, no. This came from my grandmother, my great grandmother. I heard there are living people I know that talk like this that don't know nothing about no TikTok.
Right.
So,
we were emulating them.
Yes.
And you are emulating us.
Right.
And that's like gay men, white gay men especially, are imitating black women or a caricature of what they think is a black woman. And then they're like, oh, this is our slang. Like, no, baby.
Right. And then the clout ends up going through the roof when they do it. But anywho, my white supremacy, that's a great hot take. My white supremacy hot take is more so centered around like neurotypicality and neurodivergence. It's something that's heavy on my radar right now. And my hot take is that neurotypicality operates in service to white supremacy, and the category of neurodivergence doesn't actually exist. Brains are brains. All neurotypes just exist. And we've created this type called neurodivergence because it does not serve white supremacy in the way of continuing to empower it, but has the potential to break it, to tax it, or to harm it.
Clock it. Okay, so wait,
that was fire.
That is a spicy hot take.
Thanks,
Let's break it down for a second because I want to this idea of like neurodivergence and neurotypicality. The word neurodivergence I feel like is a little more has been in the kind of conversations a little longer than neurotypicality, but like if you can just say like from your sense like what is the distinction between those two things and like how does it show up for you in your life?
Sure. So first to talk about neurodivergence versus neurotypicality, we'll start with neurotypicality. So being neurotypical means that you have traditional executive functioning skills, meaning like you have the ability to sit for a prolonged period of time, to focus in a way that allows you to finish tasks, to operate in society in the way that society largely deems as normal and acceptable.
And productive.
For
capital purposes.
Say that. Yeah, but that's where it goes, but they try not to put that box around it, but I agree. And neurodivergence is oftentimes classified through things like ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism, what was known as Asperger's, which is also autism, what's it called? My sister has it. She's OCD is a form of neurodivergence. It's usually something that interrupts some of those executive functioning skills, and it shows up in people having behaviors that are deemed less acceptable by society in a multitude of ways. And even when we talk about autism, many times people have one idea of what autism is, but it shows up so differently in so many different ways. And same thing with like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder as well. Like there's so many different types. But those people who are neurodivergent, less accommodations usually are made for them in society, or they're deemed odd or weird or unproductive.
Marginalized in different ways. And they're really just like cast out and given less opportunity to allow what they have to come out in a way, what we have for society. And I say we because I have ADHD and I'm also the mom of 3 kids, Xander, Zora, Nora. Hey, y'all. Hey, kiddos.
But Xander and Zora are autistic. And fun fact, I learned about my children's autism before I learned about my own ADHD, and I learned about it at the same time. That's a story in and of itself.
Yeah. You learned about both of your kids' autism at the same time?
At the same time. Okay. Xander and Zora, my oldest 2 children. When Zora was 5 months old, my middle baby, I just had the feeling that she was autistic. I didn't know nothing about no autism, but she would just look at you and just, you all in the face. Normally kids will react. Zora her face was stone. And I was like, this is odd. And my son he would react and things. He had a small little speech impediment and was some small delays, but I was like, okay.
Sorry, what's the age difference between the two?
Yes, so Xander is 9 and Zora is 7, 18 months. Okay. So there's an 18-month age difference. So I watched Xander progress and how he operated, and then I saw Zora, and just how stoic Zora was. She was very to herself in a way that I thought was different. And I remember saying to someone when she was 5 months, I think she has autism. And I remember this family friend being like, don't say that. Don't speak like that over your baby. You don't want that, oh no, you speak life and power over them. Don't speak that, that's a curse. And I'm like, I don't think it's I think she just might be autistic. So I remember I took Zora when she was closer to like 8 to 10 months, and Xander was around 2 then, because he had to come with me, right? I didn't have anybody to go. So I took Zora to be seen. The neurologist looked at her for like 15 minutes and was like, yeah, she seems autistic. And I think your son's autistic too.
I don't love seems from the neurologist though.
Oh, it was very much like, well, he gave the diagnosis.
Okay, I'm like,
he gave the diagnosis. No, he gave...
Yes or no?
Give us the truth.
He gave the diagnosis of an autism and an intellectual disability at 8 months.
Okay.
Just by how Zora was like, she doesn't do a lot. Well, I'll explain it later.
Yeah.
But just by how Zora presented herself in such a short amount of time, she was given that diagnosis. And then Xander, because of how he showed up. And it shows up very differently in my children. Now they're, like I said, 7 and 9, and Zora is nonverbal. And like I said, she does have the label of an intellectual disability. I don't believe that she is any way intellectually disabled. Zora can read. She knows all her letters. She understands the sounds that they make. And we're working on spelling and communicating through letterboarding.
Nice.
She doesn't talk, and she's very she knows who she is, she knows what she wants, and she finna do what she wants. She don't really care what y'all got going on.
That part.
And Xander, the way his autism shows up, it's in the, he loves music. Music is a special interest. He's been a drummer since he could, since like 2. He will be on stages one day. We'll be listening to Xander Baptiste. I can't wait. I already know it. But his autism shows up in really being into his special interests, learning as much as he can about music, all types of music. He's recently been like, Mommy, who's your favorite male rapper? His is Kendrick Lamar. Humble is his favorite song. He loves Michael Jackson.
Wait, what's his favorite song?
Humble,
okay.
He loves Michael Jackson.
Nice.
Learning his choreography, knowing the dates of which every album was released.
Oh, that's
all of that. And then he will watch the videos on YouTube, and he'll play his drums alongside it. So his autism shows up in that way, and he also has a bit of a speech delay. But he's also extremely empathetic. Both of my children, and me as a person with ADHD, emotional regulation is a thing.
Yeah.
My children struggle deeply with emotional regulation. The meltdowns are real. It's deeper than just like, oh, I feel this thing, I need to cry for a moment. No, like sometimes a small change from what they've expected or out of their routine can cause them to completely be destabilized.
Yeah.
And I was very similar as a child. It's something that I learned. And my parents did their best, and they didn't know how to show up and manage it.
Emotional regulation would that cover the entire spectrum of emotions, or is it a certain set?
Emotions.
All of them.
Got
So I
it.
think that I think all 3 of us, to different extents, feel extreme bouts of joy, sadness, anger, frustration. Like the level at which we experience it can be very, very intense, and sometimes to the place of like not knowing how to manage the energy.
Word.
That makes sense. So like, and so needing to then find ways to cope, respond, adjust to those extreme emotions. And I can imagine that in adults, it shows up like when you're having a really great time and then you start to like have an anxiety attack or like start to like disassociate or something, then that might be a moment where like you're having that emotional regulation challenge.
That, or even like, okay, someone who has like ADHD, like I get excited, I start moving. Like I want to move.
Yeah.
The energy has to come out, and I'm moving, I'm dancing, I have to get it out in that way. Many autistics will like stim and like the hand flapping.
Yeah.
It's just a way of it's a physical expression of the emotion that is happening within. And it can manifest in anxiety, but like with sadness, it can be tears, it can be laying on the floor. It could be like all kinds of like people punching holes in walls with anger.
Yeah.
It just comes out in many different ways. And what I'm noticing with my children, and that I also had to go through, is like you have to feel the power of all of the feelings and experience the emotional overwhelm. And the teaching of like learning the skills to cope with big emotions only comes over time after having experienced the thing over and over again. And they have to consistently hear your voice telling them to do the thing or finding the thing. So with Xander, it's really like getting him into his breathing, asking him, is this Xander? Because Xander is a very sweet child, but when he's destabilized, he can get very angry. Yeah. And he's the boy thick, he big, and so he can end up being harmful. He can cause physical harm. And it's the emotion. And when he's able to come to realize, I'm actually not this person who wants to cause harm. Yeah. He can breathe and he can figure out how to calm himself down. And with Zora, the way she feels intense emotion, she does this, I'm gonna do it, she goes, and like she will like shake her head and rub her eyes, and like she needs to bite something, so she used to bite. But now she knows that biting is bad, or she doesn't want to bite because she understands the impact, so she'll bite a blanket or she'll bite a pillow. Or it's like sometimes when she really wants to express how bad it is, she'll put her teeth up against you to let you know that she's like feeling this intense emotion. And just me being there, like, I get it.
Couple of things. I can imagine that biting a towel just feels really good. I could also imagine like a mouth guard, like a boxing mouth guard. I'm also thinking about it because I'm having my own reflections of like totally resonating with, I do not want to be violent or cause harm through this expression. I just need to get this out in some type of way. I think in my younger years, I was definitely a hole puncher on the wall. Just the other day, I took an aluminum bat out there to one of our like tree stumps, and I just went in, and it felt so good. It was just like, wow. Like I was like on a call, literally like putting it on mute, and then just boom, boom. And it's like, wow, this feels really
on a call.
It's a relief.
There was just a very clear, because I'm really good at listening to my body. There was a very clear communication of like, you need to get this out. It don't matter what the fuck you're doing. Figure out how to get this emotion out. So I'm like listening. I'm like, wow, this is really connecting with me. Other thing I want to say is listening to you talk, I'm just like, you know, her mama named her Grace. I'm gonna call her Grace because it's just Big Grace over here.
Big Grace
Big
energy.
Grace Freeman. I mean, I appreciate it. It's you know, I'm listening and I'm like, yeah, this is a good model of someone expressing grace that like I need to absorb and learn from, because seeing somebody do the right thing and the healthy thing is very like
trying.
And I just want to absorb it. I'm just like, oh, like that's an example of like somebody giving so much fucking grace, and like that's what the world needs. And like that feels so healthy.
Grace with self, grace with your children, grace with your parents, grace with this narrative, this idea of neurotypicality, and like that. And I also really appreciate the framing. I think the phrase you used was like given less accommodations, and I think about that in the context of like, you know, this happens like with many things, like, you know, this is happening with gender expression, where they're like, back in my day there were no trans kids, what was non-binary, you were this, and it's like, no, we just didn't have the language, we just didn't have the understanding, or fewer of us had the language, had the understanding. I think that is true as well.
There was less space to express.
Exactly. And so I think that like that's also a part of like disrupting white supremacy, is like giving space to learn, for there to be more information. And now that we know more, Because like also white supremacy wants us to stay in these very small buckets.
Yeah.
There's only a few things that can be true.
Yeah.
And most of those things that are true are what white people say is true or what whiteness says is true. There's only so many ways of being okay. There's only so many ways of existing that have to fall into this bucket. But as we open up understanding, then we can actually make accommodations and we should make accommodations because why the fuck not?
And then the thing I hate about white supremacy's view of that evolution is that white supremacy will then target that evolution and be like, oh, well, that's soft.
That's bad.
Or that's pussy.
Yes.
Or like, that's this generation is weak as fuck. But it's not this generation being weak as fuck.
We might just be making more accommodations.
It's yes, we're making more accommodations because we now have more language to be able to express, articulate what we're watching, what we're viewing, what we're feeling. And I think it's a very important thing to pull out of like all the chaos.
Yes.
Because it's like we should be evolving.
Yes. Yes.
Like,
Jesus, please.
why do we want to be stuck in like Windows 95? Like,
No.
we should be evolving. And
I have a question here though, but like when we even say like accommodation for like the feeling, like is it actually accommodation? Because accommodation says, oh, special circumstance, or is it just making space for the fullness to exist?
Yeah,
And you
100%.
two really brought it home for me with the piece around the emotional regulation and connecting it to white supremacy. Is for me, autistics, as all the autistics I know personally in my life, are deeply connected to their bodies. They're deeply connected to their physical needs, and they are willing to give themselves what they need without shame. And some have shame. It's usually those who can mask to be neurotypical. They will feel shame for either having the emotional outburst or feeling the urge to have the emotional outburst. But those who have traditionally been labeled low functioning, usually they know what they need, they feel it, they give themselves what they need so that they can exist in the world, and that in and of itself is a threat to white supremacy. I think white supremacy seeks to cut us off from our emotions. It literally seeks to keep all of the energy up here. The focus neurotypicality is about executive functioning. Yeah, you're gonna feel that stuff, but you can't allow that to get in the way of your ability to think rationally and to be logical. And white supremacy values logic above all else. And emotional energy is real. Like it's real.
Emotional knowledge is real.
It's real. And it is a form of intelligence.
Yes.
And most people, I think, are operating cut off. I would say men in particular are operating cut off from their emotions, and they don't know what they're feeling. Like, they will intellectualize and not understand, oh, I feel this actually in my body. What does this actually mean? Why am I feeling this? Autistics give themselves space to feel it, to process it, and honor what it is that what they want. Whether white supremacy be damned. Like they don't care about none of that shit.
Right.
Like me, Zora, and Xander, they both don't care about none of it.
Yeah.
They're going to be who they are. They're not trying to please you or anyone else. And for me, it has absolutely been liberating to parent them.
Yeah.
It has helped me release so much of my desire to people please and care about the people who are around me and their comfort at the expense of theirs. So it's like oftentimes Zora, if like at the airport, she can have a meltdown because the energy is...
It's a lot.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
energy.
I mean, the airport. Lord have mercy.
It's a lot.
Everybody.
I'll be like, yo, a double of doers, please. Just because I need emotionally regulate my shit right now. 'Cause it's
Right, and
a
that's how
lot.
we've been conditioned to.
Yes,
But
yes.
like, if something is really wrong, Zora will like have her moment where she's having her meltdown, and people will sometimes look. And people are also kinder than I had expected. People will sometimes look and they'll like cut their eyes and be like, "This is unacceptable." When the reality is like, no, this is actually overstimulating for like all
Everybody,
of us.
all of us.
This is how you cope. This is how you cope. This is how you cope.
This is
And
how she copes.
low key, you're probably
all
trying to
just
cope
exist.
off of my child having their own experience right now.
Yeah.
By
Yes.
talking your shit. Like,
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
you're getting your shit
yeah,
off.
literally.
Using this as your excuse to get it off.
Yeah.
And so I think people are so out of touch with that. And I think that autistics and neurodivergence call us into the parts of ourselves that white supremacy wants us to disown, forget, put at bay, so that we can serve the purpose of capitalism.
This is what I mean when I say disrupting white supremacy in your everyday life.
Yes.
This shit shows up everywhere in all of our things. And like, it's a way to start to like be more, I don't know if safe is the right word with each other, but like part of what I will just speak for myself, and like being in conversation with you, talking about neurodivergence, talking about mothering your children that are autistic, it makes me want to not make accommodations, but like create more space to let the kids, to let all of us just be, you know. And it's such a contrast to what is happening in different parts of the world and our country to really restrict. And I feel like that's a way that people should start to think about like some of these changes that are happening or that they're trying to make happen. It's like, this is not freedom. Freedom is the ability to care for your people, for yourselves, and to be cared for.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, what does that look like? We need to know what caring for all of the different types of humans. There are different types of humans, you know, like there are different bodies, different hair colors, different textures, different neurotypicalities, for lack of a better word. And like, cool. Let's figure out what it means to care for each of those types of humans, so that just like, you know, like white people love to take care of their dogs and all of these special.
Don't get me started.
The way both of you,
Oh, white people. And they damn dogs. See, y'all be taking it out on the dogs. It's not even their
The
fault.
police will murder
That was
black people
so
in the street.
funny. Though you're both like,
But you can't harm. But if you harm a dog, not saying that we should be harming dogs.
Oh,
certainly not. Nobody's
my
saying that. But it's just like,
goodness.
like they're so specific about like, my dog needs this type of food and this type of water. Yeah, okay, there are different types of
Right.
animals.
You got the dog in a stroller.
There are
Right.
different types of humans that
You got
need.
the booties on the dogs.
I can't even escape the dog conversation because
I
I'm
get
just like,
so confused by the people
Yo.
with the dogs in the strollers.
So-
Walking your dog, like you're
But
on a
it's-
walk. You're on a walk with your dog, but your dog's in the stroller.
So you're walking. You're
I
literally
really-
walking your dog in
I
the
really
stroller.
don't understand
dog
what's
is
supposed
like,
to be
I'm
happening
actually
there.
But it's
trying to-
controversial for people who are nonverbal to use communication devices.
That part.
It's delegitimized. It's delegitimized spelling to communicate. But your dog can get walked in a stroller. It's just, for me, it's just like, because you get it.
You get
the
that there are
need.
different types of needs for different type of creatures over here. But when it's us, when it's this different type of human, you don't get that. You're like, no, that we can't do that. That's infringing on my what? No.
they literally do care about their dogs more than they care about humanity. And I'm going to actually transition away from this the dog
heart rate
conversation.
going
Because,
Everyone's triggered.
because I literally have 2 dog stories that like I can't remove, and I'm like, no, just pivot. And
Don't
we got
tell
it. So we're going to play a game.
Just
Okay,
know
great.
at one point I want to hear them.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to play a game. We're going to play a game of Would You Rather.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
This is going to be fun. I'm going to ask you, would you rather A, would you rather B, but I'm going to tell you what the A and B is, obviously. And I don't think that there should be follow-up questions.
Okay.
So, like, what's the circumstance?
You're saying we're
Let it
not
be.
allowed to ask you follow-up
Boom.
questions.
just A or
Yes
B.
or no.
It's giving white supremacy,
Right,
but
it's
okay.
giving
Totally.
signification. It's
Totally.
giving lack of nuance.
Totally.
It's giving us a
Giving
try.
lack of nuance. Is this
Are you trying to
Oh, all right. We're going to be careful.
limit my
Got it.
Okay, got it.
possibilities of how I can
Trying to put me in
respond
a box,
to this
but okay.
question?
It's giving put me in a box.
So you
But
want me
all
to
right.
be? You want me to be white?
Right.
Okay. I'm so excited about this because when I thought about this and then started drafting it, I was like, this is great. Would you rather? I'm not gonna give an answer.
Okay.
I'm gonna let y'all answer.
You're the host.
Cool.
Would you rather erase all student loan debt for marginalized communities, or establish universal reparations?
I can't ask no follow-up questions. Is it 40 acres and a mule reparations? What are the
Well, what's the
reparation?
say the reparations thing again. Reparations for
Establish universal
reparations.
Wait, for everybody?
establish
Universal
Okay.
reparations.
Period.
Universal.
Okay, I'm going with the reparations one because we're having a hard time.
No, this is just great because yeah.
I think the universal reparations because I think that in some ways forgiving student debt could even be a form of reparations, because the only reason college is so expensive is because Black people got a chance to go. The only reason that they started to have to put out these loans is because college was free before, I'm pretty sure, like after the GI Bill after World War II. And like Black veterans didn't get as much access to the benefits of the GI Bill, which basically made it so all of these World War II vets could go to college. And then we like started to like get in there, start to figure out how we could get into college after they outlawed segregation and so on and so forth. Then they were like, okay, well, we got to jack this price up because too many of these N-words are getting access to it. And then we had to start take out debt. So I think that universal reparations could be could address the student debt thing.
Nice. Big Grace.
So initially my answer was like, hey, erase the student loan debt forgiveness. But then I feel like that actually is a bit of an elitist take, and it negates the people who didn't go to college and the ones that need reparations. And I think that reparations does, if you want to apply your reparations to your student loan, or
that's fine, honey.
The government's going to have to garnish my wages. I will never pay you back.
I love this. Great answers, because I also agree, even though I didn't want to give an answer, but I appreciate what you said about like, hey, like, well, if we choose this one, that leaves out an entire population of folks
Whole lot
who
of people
just weren't.
And isn't that just like us? You know,
Looking out for other people
they always are like, well, we can't do
as we
reparations.
make our decisions.
Right, we can't do this because, or what if if Black women are in charge? What does that mean for me?
It
I
means
literally
we make
had a
space
white
for
woman say that to me at a movement conference. I literally had a white woman say that to me, like, well, what if Black women are in leadership? What does that mean for me?
I hope you got
you'll be benefited. You're welcome is
Right.
what it means for you,
It means
my
you will be
dear. You're
considered.
welcome.
I hope you got her name.
We'll leave her
We're
out.
going to talk about this after. Anyways, number 2, would you rather live in a world where every racist loses their job immediately, or a world where racial justice organizations do not face police retaliation?
One last time.
Yep.
Would you rather, and I'm going to flip it, I'm going to say it backwards. Would
Okay.
you rather live in a world where racial justice organizations do not face police retaliation, or live in a world where racist people lose their job immediately?
The answer is where social justice movement organizations don't face police retaliation, because we outside, we not scared. We taking the Malcolm X approach, okay?
Yes.
We taking the Black
That would be
Panther
great,
Party
yes.
approach, because you're not finna come for us. Oh, we can handle it. We can handle you if we are allowed to handle
Right.
the
If the
situation.
police are taken out,
If
okay,
ain't
now
no
it's a whole
cops.
other conversation.
Okay, let's rumble. Let's do it.
I'm actually going to say all the racists lose their jobs because I feel like that gets rid of a lot of police.
Damn, bars.
I feel like
Wow, that was good.
I feel like if all the races lose their jobs,
See,
that's
this is what
kind of the majority.
this is when I need like a soundboard so I can hit the DJ Clue, like the bomb.
Drop one of the Clues bombs.
Drop one of Clue's bombs. Wow, someone hit the siren.
Hey.
That was nice. That was
Yeah.
wow. This is a great game.
This is the spider.
Okay.
Always when the police are like, the police race is a Spider-Man meme.
It's like, well, if we choose the first one,
We get
rid of a lot of police. That's cool. I appreciate that. Okay, last one. Permanently dismantle white supremacy power structure.
Okay.
Or ensure every black and brown person has generational wealth today.
I gotta go with the first one.
It's A, yeah.
Yeah.
A kind of gets us like wealth also is within
Is a
white supremacy and
structure,
capitalism,
yeah.
you know? So like to me, like without white supremacy, there's room for health. It's restorative. It's collaborative. It's community centered.
Yes.
It's care based. It's white supremacy literally is cancer on earth. So as we see, it is.
It really
Girl,
is.
please.
It really is.
It is. We're literally ruining the earth. Earth is trying to rid us of it because,
Right.
like,
She said,
Earth's
I'm
like,
trying,
you know
y'all.
what?
Y'all really need to go ahead and get to.
Earth has like a yeast infection. The way the weather is like, but for real, it snowed. And my mom came from Maryland. It snowed on Tuesday, and then today it's 54 degrees. Like it don't make 7 inches.
Nah, that's
She
real.
said, "Wait."
Earth got a yeast infection. She's trying to get rid of it.
And for people that have not had a yeast infection, yuck. Okay.
It's
I mean, cancer's bad for sure, but a yeast infection is similar. It's like
making me think about my favorite.
It's not similar.
no, it's not similar. Cancer and yeast infection not similar, but yeast infection as like an irritant on your life, on your like that's what that is. Mm-hmm.
It's making me think of my favorite GIF from me on the show. And he's like, "Cut the show. I'm done." That's Earth. Earth's like, "Cut
literally.
the show. I'm done. Cut the show.
Our good sis is flooding,
I'm done.
shifting, volcanoing, hurricaning, firing.
Cut the show."
Sis is communicating. Y'all not
I'm
listening.
done.
Yeah, y'all not listening.
Literally, communicating. Like, you all are not listening.
I agree with you, Corryn. It's definitely let's get rid of white supremacy. The wealth thing is. I think I don't think that I think wealth is a corrupting force.
I agree.
And it does not allow us to feel the fullness of our humanity. Like I'm really trying to like thinking about like people being gender expansive, people being neuro expansive. I don't know if that's a term, but you know, like people like having different abilities is like it feels like a form of evolution, or at the very least, a increase of understanding who and what we are. And I feel like so much of what we're subjected to is just squishing us. And wealth is one of those things, like the idea that you either have it, once you get it, you got to keep it. And there's only so many ways to do that. The idea that trying to get it, right? There's only so many ways to do that. And that is a very squishing, like minimizing type of experience, right? And so I really am like, whatever we need to do to open this shit wide open, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's make it so that we can, you know, like I, over the last couple of years, became a big fan of Star Trek. And like part of it is that I realized like it's based in this reality where everybody has what they need. So you don't. So in theory, not everybody has what they need, but like on Earth anyway, we've in the Star Trek world, people have evolved to a certain level where you don't have to spend all of your time making money.
Survival's not.
You don't have to, to survive. So in that reality, we were able to get to Mars and to other dimensions and to other realms or whatever. And so like, I'm trying to be on that shit. I'm trying to do whatever we need to do to open it up so we can actually tap into the fullness of who we are as a species.
Word.
And to me, like Black people having generational wealth, that means there's still poverty. You know,
Okay.
like poverty still exists. And to me, like liberation is literally for all of us, white people included. I feel like sometimes
The
they don't
eye roll
realize.
is my favorite.
Oh, did I do that? Ooh, child, sorry, my face is not hot.
She said,
What-
white people too.
Well, yeah, y'all. But like, I think sometimes they don't even realize how shackled they are.
They are, yes.
Like-
same with men in this gender conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like white supremacy, like you said, likes to keep us in boxes, and none of us exist in a box. I think maybe there are a few people who actually fit in that box because that's who they are, but very few of us actually exist there. And why aren't we allowing for ourselves to exist fully when we're on a floating rock in space?
Come on now.
I literally always go, I'm the floating rock girl. It literally always comes down to like, we are on a floating rock and we're paying bills.
That's wild. Whose idea? What?
Whose idea
What are
was
these
that?
hierarchies? Why are we in this rat race when we don't have to? We have, and we can create literally anything. Like white supremacy was created. We can be and do anything else, and it's not really working for even most white people, I would argue. So, because who are you supreme to?
It's definitely not working for them.
They're out here wilding,
We see
looking
it.
crazy, and I have to just. Sorry, you were gonna say something.
I was just gonna say we could literally look in every direction of the world, and white supremacy got white people wilding and looking just silly and foolish.
White people and people who think that they're white adjacent or think that they have
They
access
be the
to
worst
whiteness.
ones to me.
Like-
Sometimes the white adjacent ones, oh, it hurts my heart.
I don't want to talk about Dominican people, but it's. I got love for my Dominican folks, but y'all niggas who be me know black and you literally
the way I was about to do it, but I was
and
like,
you
no,
literally
it's
look
culturally incompetent to do it.
you literally
It's
look
okay, Kevin did it for us.
you
It's fine.
literally look like me.
Hello.
Okay, cool, bro, you got it. 'Cause
You heard the Venezuelans in Miami mad that elected Donald Trump.
literally, I seen one of those videos and Shorty was like, I don't want to make this political.
What else
but
would it be,
I'm
baby
like-
girl?
I was
What
like,
else would it be?
I was like, I have to get off the internet right now.
What
'cause
is it then? If it's not
you're-
political, what is it?
The dots are literally right next
Right
to each
here.
other.
You are.
They're doing this. The dots are this. I don't see the distance in
It
between
is
them.
wild. It is wild.
Yeah.
I do want our audience and our people to get to know more about you.
Yes.
So I do want to ask, all of us in this room, in some way, shape, or form, our work is tied back to dismantling white supremacy. I do want to ask you, how did you come to this work?
Sure. So I am, in my day job, an executive director of an organization called Future Coalition.
Nice.
And it's a political organization that resources young change makers to propel transformational progressive change in a litany of ways, from running for office to electing young progressives, to fiscal sponsorship and low barrier to entry grants for young people who have ideas for direct actions that are trying to build a better world, right? And I came to this work through, it really started at like Howard. So I went to school to study theater. I was like a dance theater kid.
I didn't know this about you.
I got to Howard's theater program. My entry was contingent upon my ability to get into that program. And I got into the program, and my dad was like, okay, so like I'm not sending you to school to be a theater major. You got to figure it out. Yeah. And my freshman year, it was the Hillary Obama race, and Barack Obama came to the school, and I heard him speak, and it literally like lit me up. And I changed my major to political science, and my first job out of undergrad was a political campaign, the Obama campaign, and it took me on a wave of doing political work. But my groundedness in community-centered progressive work came from my parents. So my dad was a pastor, president of a local NAACP chapter, and my mom has always been in philanthropy. So she ran a community foundation in DC and then ran museums. And my parents they took me in the polls with them to vote. My dad would take me to his NAACP meetings. We went to Black Camp, Black Student Achievement Program. where I learned more deeply my history. I went to church in inner city Baltimore, where I got a different cultural experience from my even suburban, very integrated day-to-day life.
Are you a PG County girl?
Nah, I'm a Howard County girl.
Oh, okay, Lil Nas hilarious.
Nah. I mean, PG, she's cute, but
I love the PG County girls.
we call ourselves Columbia Clappers, so I'm a Columbia Clapper, yes. But yeah, so like I grew up kind of around socially justice-minded people. My dad would come in and give a presentation on Kwanzaa to all the white kids at our school to help them understand the 7 principles because they needed to get it.
Do you know my mom did that too?
Hello?
My mom, and I was like, at first I was a little embarrassed, but then like a few years later I was like,
it's the move.
This is so cool.
It's the move. And so like it was just kind of instilled in me. And then as I grew in society and kind of like saw the work, I just continued down the path. And while I'm very grateful for my role at Future Coalition, being an ED is hard.
Word.
And I caution anyone before you take the role, it's a hard job.
It is.
I've come to realize that like we are fighting white supremacy in every single thing that we do, that like you don't necessarily have to be in movement organizing to fight white supremacy.
Not at all.
So also just thinking like, okay, is this actually the space that I want to be in? I think like my next move is really going into art. I like to make things like I made this necklace and I made these earrings.
Fire.
Beautiful.
I want to really create intentional, heartfelt art. That relates to my experiences and how I view and see the world, because I genuinely believe that art and like our ability to create, and sometimes that is in these spaces, is a form of resistance and is really the pathway to freedom and allows people an opportunity to witness and to question and to get free themselves.
Amen.
So that's where I'm going.
I love that, and thank you for sharing. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm curious if there's anything else that you want our audience to hear, to know, particularly like I'm really appreciate you kind of bringing it back to like all of the ways that we're disrupting white supremacy. And this conversation has just been like a touch point. I don't know if there's any resources or things that you feel like would be helpful for people who are curious to learn more about neurodivergence, neurotypicality, and the different things that folks are needed, particularly Black folks, Black families that are also navigating this in different ways.
A few things. So one, I also didn't talk about like Black Violin Foundation. So my husband's one half of the dynamic duo, Black Violin. He plays viola. My husband plays viola, his partner plays violin, but we have a foundation where we provide financial resources in violins and violas to young people who are pursuing music education with a heavy focus on BIPOC youth, really Black youth. And if you go to blackviolinfoundation.org, we have grant programs up to $5,000 for Black kids to continue their music education. We're committed to resourcing Black and brown youth because less than 4% of all classically trained professional musicians are Black or brown, Black or Latinx.
And this is again about the arts piece too and how important that is. Yeah.
And it changes like having access. If you let Will and Kev, my husband and his partner, tell their story, like they were headed down some kind of crazy path until they were introduced to the instruments, and it really has changed the trajectory of their lives. One, for their own personal like financial freedom, but also in their ability to like operate and move and how they see the world. And providing that for other kids, I feel like is important. And so for me, that's another way that I disrupt white supremacy is through that work. In regards to other aspects to myself and resources, so I am currently reading a book by autistics of all varying abilities called Loud Hands. I believe all people should read this book.
Nice.
It is a heavy read. It is not easy for you to read because in the intro, it is dedicated to all of the autistics from varying ages who have been killed by their caregivers, killed by their mothers, their fathers, their aunts, their uncles, because they were autistic. They dedicate this to them because autistics are seen as less than. People with disabilities are seen as less than in a white supremacist society. They're not valued. And it just talks about like how people perceive them versus like who they are and the things that they need in order to be able to express and provide their contributions versus the assumptions that are made, visibilizing really autism, because a lot of times it's not something anyone thinks about. You see an autistic person, you put them in that category of them over there.
Yeah.
You don't think about their experience at all.
Yeah.
And as Black people, as women, that's what white people do to us. That is what men do to us. And this is what neurotypical people do to neurodivergent people. And it is really important to make sure that they are included in the conversation and that we understand the immense plight that they go through. So I encourage all of you guys to read that book. And if you're in Florida or even beyond, there is a Black Autistics conference that is happening. Only if you're Black. If you're not Black, don't go. There's a Black Autistics happening from April 11th to the 13th. They will have in-person options in Palm Beach County. So if you're in like the Tri-County, Florida area, but they also will have virtual options. Can you give me a moment just to look and see what it's called?
Totally. And as you figured that out, I do want to appreciate you for expanding the conversation around like you know, just this idea of like how white supremacy keeps people out of conversations, keeps people out of being in the room, and how that is in alignment with how folks with autism, kids with autism, neurodivergence, how they're treated and kept out of the room or kept out of opportunities, because I know
or just not seen, period.
And just not seen, period. Because I think about my own experience being around folks who are neurodivergent, folks who are autistic in some way, shape, or form capacity, and I think I had lived a point where it was like, I don't know how to engage or what to do here, and just disassociating myself. And that's pretty trash. And it's also like this reality for me that was like not finding reason to learn, which, just reflecting on my own shit, I'm just like, that's not a world that I want to live in. I want to live in a world where I'm like, nigga, you have autistic people in your community, so like figure that shit out. And I'm appreciative of how you talked about it, because it's making me think about this podcast, the telepathy tapes, and just
you put me on. Thanks.
For sure, and just all of the work that I think her name is Kai Dickinson is doing around that podcast, and I think it's amazing, and it exposed me to, one, not only like, hey nigga, figure out how to bring these people that are already in your community into your life, into the space, into the center.
How do we integrate them instead of just having them there?
Totally. And
sorry, go ahead.
And not only did it expose me to just figuring that out and being excited and genuinely enthusiastically excited about figuring that out, it also exposed me to myself and how I connect to that world. Because, you know, all throughout this conversation, I'm like, nigga, you
see yourself.
Bro, I see.
Most people will.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, totally.
Most people will.
Especially when you talk about your experiences growing up and some of the like challenges around like going off routine and the being changed. All those like, yes. Yeah. And so many people got beat for that.
Hello. My parents did the best they could with what they had.
Oh my gosh, man.
Same.
Yeah.
But you were saying about the name?
It's called Autism in Black is the name of the Instagram account. Other great accounts to follow are Fidgets and Fries.
Oh, I have seen that.
Yeah, Fidgets and Fries is great. Those two for now. But I also want to like give kudos to you for your vulnerability. So I think it isn't easy to see, you know, like, oh snap, there are things in me that I have like suppressed or have disassociated from, and like, to me, there's a period of grief that happens. Like, you're sad with yourself for having cut off access to who you are, and allow yourself to feel it. And I encourage you to be gracious with yourself and be gracious as you are on your journey to being fully who you are. Because it's not easy. And I think it's particularly harder for men.
Totally.
Because so much of masculinity is about existing in a very specific box.
And performing.
Yeah, it's not real.
So here is the beauty that I'm in, the beauty in the connection that I'm having in this conversation right now is, again, I get exposed to the telepathy tapes and just, I'm like absorbing it in so many different ways, and my brain, thoughts, everything is just moving. And I realized that any time I would talk about it, I would start to cry. And I would literally be like, I don't know why the fuck am I crying right now, but like, literally, like every time I talk about the telepathy tapes, I start crying. And it's just now hitting me that like, I'm crying because I'm fucking grieving. And that's deep as fuck. And I appreciate you for shouting out my vulnerability, because I fuck with vulnerability. I see it as like a light source. I see it as like
it's
power.
Strength.
And vulnerability for me is like, nigga, anytime I could get a hit of that shit, like stick it in my veins. Seriously.
It be hurting sometimes though.
You said what?
It hurts sometimes.
Oh no, it definitely, for me, I have been, since being a student at FAMU and being exposed to white supremacy, and doing movement work with the Dream Defenders, I just immediately recognize the power in vulnerability. And for me, I'm literally like, I don't give a fuck how much it hurts. Let's talk, stick it in my veins, nigga, because I know if I get that hit of vulnerability, I evolve like 2, 3, 4, 5 years worth of time in like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, a day. And I'm just like, no, I fuck with it.
And you free those who witness it.
So that's my favorite, when you can see, watching somebody be vulnerable, even watching somebody be like, I'm not sure, I don't know, it creates an opportunity to do that for me or for yourself.
It does.
It's huge.
It's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing the telepathy tapes with me. It was also like groundbreaking, and for me, I definitely shed some tears. And me and my nonverbal daughter, like, I learned of her special skills that she has. We're still learning about them together. And I don't like to talk too much about it publicly, because from what I gather from my daughter, she does not want to make a show of herself. She's not to be, she's not here for that. But to know that, like, she is free. She is 1,000% there and then some. She does have her own community that she can access at any time when she needs. And this is a way for us to like understand and be. And the fact that, for those that don't know about the telepathy tapes, it's about predominantly non-speaking or limited verbal people who are autistic have the ability to telepathically communicate with each other and with like some of their caregivers. And the fact that these people who spend time in solitude, quiet, have this phenomenal ability, is like, okay, maybe we should all take a page. We over here,
exactly.
We just need to be over here like,
maybe we would evolve faster. Maybe we would find a way to not be a cancer to the earth.
We definitely,
if we could quiet down.
We definitely would, because I was listening to it and like, just some of the, and just using as simple words as I possibly could, like their ability to read the minds of their caregivers, like no magic tricks, the answers be like literally like, my nigga, you're thinking about the number 11, you're thinking about red juice, like literally it's like, why are we not studying this? And I do want to talk more, but we totally have to bring this episode to a close.
You'll be back.
This is great. If you'll have me,
yes.
Absolutely.
Every
I
time
feel
y'all
like
call.
this was a very great conversation.
This is why we do this.
11:30 is approaching all of us.
We gotta get these kids.
So
It's like, it really bees like that,
it really,
y'all. Like,
it really is. It's like, yo, what is next on
You know,
the
time is a
schedule?
construct of white supremacy, y'all.
Ain't no time.
And yet,
Them
if we
kids will
don't
get
leave to
picked
go
up.
get these kids, we will be with white supremacy real fast.
CPS, okay? CPS is also a construct of white
Word.
We
supremacy.
will definitely be with white supremacy
I
real
was late
fast.
because there is no such thing as
right.
time. Sir, you should have picked up your child 40 minutes ago.
You need to go get your kid though.
This is a great episode. I do want to give you both an opportunity to say one last thing if there's anything on your hearts and minds that you want to express.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you too.
I'm so
Word.
grateful
Thank
for
you
you.
so much.
No, I'm
This
grateful.
got me shedding tears, and I loved it. That
Thanks
was
for
great.
letting me be weird, y'all.
What?
I'm a very odd person, and I
Dig it.
I'm into it. I like who I
I
am.
love it. I
But
love it.
I know that
I'm here for it.
I am odd by traditional standards, and I feel so seen and safe here. And I'm really grateful for the space that y'all have created.
Word, absolutely. Thank you so much, Corryn.
Yeah.
Everyone, this was a great episode. I hope you think the same.
Let us know. Like, subscribe,
Let
comment.
us know, likes, comments.
Shout out to our new
subscribe.
subscribers.
Yes, shout
We're
out
really
to our,
grateful that y'all are here on this journey with us. This is the N-Word Podcast.
Pew, 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 pew. Hit us up. Peace.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so much fun.